Then?
Tea time's at 8.
To enjoy a hassle-free guys' weekend, let her relax at Stillwater's Day and Medical Spa. Visit swmedspa.com. Stillwater's Day and Medical Spa, voted Best Day Spa 8 years in a row.
What do I cherish? Precious moments watching Dad read to my little Eric. That's why I'm so grateful I insisted on an eye exam when I noticed him struggling with the words on the page. We found out Dad has age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. Luckily, the doctor caught it in time for treatment, so Dad can still read. Protect yourself and your loved ones. Call the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-254-6552 for a free packet on preventing and managing AMD. That's 1-800-254-6552.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 945. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brillante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Happy Tuesday to all of our listeners out there. You are listening to Talk Football with Coach K, of course, on the one and only ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Good afternoon. I'm Davis Allen. Join with me, as always, the host of this show, Coach K. Stevenson. Coach, good afternoon.
Good to be with you, Davis. You bet.
Another day of football news. And, of course, SEC Media Days are currently going on in Hoover, Alabama, just near Birmingham. And we'll get you covered on what's going on over there. And, of course, we have some big signings going on in the NFL that have just recently happened. And also we have some other football players that have announced that they are expected to hold out entering August and possibly even as far as September. But, Coach, we do want to cover some big local news. Former Tate High School quarterback Sawyer Smith, he played for 2 years at Tate, or at the Troy, I should say. Played great in 7 games last season, throwing for 11 touchdowns and just over 1,100 passing yards. But he announces that he is going to be transferring to an SEC school. The University of Kentucky is going to be gaining him as a quarterback. And this is significant because he was a sophomore last year, but he graduated from Troy, so that made him eligible to be a graduate transfer and play immediately. So, Coach, he's going to have 2 more years of eligibility left while he's going to be competing with Terry Wilson at that quarterback spot.
This is a very, very interesting story, Davis. I think, number one, the kid, I think, was 5-2, the 7 games that he started last year for Troy. Came on very strong and get better and better and better as the year went on. He going to Kentucky. Kentucky will have some holdover. Let's just look at their situation now. They'll have some carryover, some momentum from last year because they had an unusually good year, an outstanding year for Kentucky. Now, that doesn't happen every year at Kentucky. It's not like Alabama or Clemson where they just reload. It happens every 2 or 3 years that they'll, when they get a program in place, they can expect to have a double-digit win season maybe once every 3 years, something like that. But they've got some residual to carry over from last year. Got some kids coming back. They lost, Schnell, the running back, and their pass rusher. So they lost 2 of the most important players they had. But they have players coming back. And Wilson, their quarterback, is not a quarterback. This really helps Kentucky because of this move. I'll tell you, because we're talking about a pure passer now and a legitimate quarterback going in. Wilson's a great guy, but he's a running back, not a quarterback. And at the quarterback position, he's a running back playing that position. This now opens the field up for Kentucky to be a much more dangerous football team than they were a week ago. So I think it's big. I think it's huge news for the SEC and especially for Kentucky.
It's certainly interesting considering he essentially won the starting job replacing the injured Caleb Barker for Troy. He plays excellent football, going 5-2, as you had just mentioned, actually scoring more touchdowns than what I had mentioned before. And he has an opportunity to secure the starting job going into next year for a decent program out of Troy. However, Kentucky seems vulnerable at the quarterback position, and not many people are going to pass up the SEC opportunity, especially if they do have an opportunity to start. So this seems like a great opportunity for the Tate graduate, and looking forward to seeing what he can produce for Kentucky and possibly even a starting job going into the season. But still have an off season to work with, but we are getting really close to that the beginning of the football season. August 24th is just right around the corner, Coach.
Yeah, that's true, and I think he's got a heck of a chance again to go start at Kentucky. And why wouldn't you go if you had a chance to go start at Kentucky? You got to go take that chance. And again, I think it's going to work out well for both.
972-1945, that is our phone number if you want to call in or even text if you want to be a part of the conversation. Of course, you're always welcome to be a part of this show. And another team, Coach, that is going to be getting some great help, going to be getting some continued help, including some insurance along the way, is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They have agreed to an extension deal with Grady Jarrett, their star defensive tackle. A 4-year extension is what they have signed, worth $68 million. At least $38 million of that is going to be guaranteed.
Yeah, it was important for him to get that done. He's a valuable contributor to that defense, and they had to solidify that front seven. As you know, that's been their Achilles heel, has been their defense. Offensively, they're as gifted and talented as anybody in the league by far. But defensively, they just have not been able to hold their own. Look at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when they're up by they lost. Well, a team making the biggest comeback in the history of the Super Bowl, New England Patriots, and Atlanta's up. Gosh, I don't remember exactly the score, how much they were up, but they couldn't hold it, couldn't even begin to hold it. And New England comes back and wins the ball game. You can't have that happen. So the moral to the story is here, you got to get that defense solidified, and he's a big part of that defensive front. So that's good news for Atlanta.
And then moving on over to the AFC, where another defensive lineman, Jadeveon Clowney, he did not meet the deadline for the players that are franchised to sign contracts. Now, he is expected to miss most, if not all, of training camp, and he has not yet signed his franchise tender. Now, Coach, and this tender is worth just under $16 million for the 2019 season. First, for the people that are unfamiliar with what a franchise tag is, what is that, and why is it usually designated to certain players, especially a guy like Jadeveon Clowney?
It's a means by which a team can hold on to a player, okay, when they first come out, especially off their rookie contract. Rookie contract usually goes for 4, maybe 5 years, okay? But in that last year or so, they renegotiate, and they get them a contract which goes for another 3 to 4 to 5 years. The franchise tag, if they're unwilling to get that signed, they can do what they call franchise tag them, which means that they really have no choice to come back and play, but the price for or their salary is dictated by the average salary of people in their position. Okay, so that's what dictates the price. It's automatic. The club doesn't do it. Their agent doesn't do it. It's automatic. And so that's what they have available to them there. Now, he's got no choice if he wants to play football. And we talked about him yesterday, and I mean, I know I've got a little inside information. I will repeat it. The reason that he is where he is right now, Jadeveon Clowney, and the reason they're not going to renegotiate his contract, he's a very talented guy, but his work ethic does not match his ability. He's a Peaks and Valley football player, have a couple of series in a ball game where he does an exceptional job, makes some big plays, and then he just doesn't make the effort that he's capable of making on others. You can't win with a guy like that consistently. You just cannot do it. And if he thinks he's to the point where he can just go in and rush the passer 8, 10, 12 times a ball game and spend the rest of the time watching others out there playing, and he's wrong. He's badly mistaken. That's left for the old vet, the great pass rusher who can't play 3 downs anymore, who might just go in on pass rushing downs, and we had a couple of those last year. But he doesn't fit that description yet, and that's the reason that they franchise tagged him. They obviously don't want to lose him. He's a great talent, and they want to try to salvage him. Or if he's gone, they want to get something for him. They trade him. Okay, you can still trade him off that franchise tag. So that's why they did it. But they're not going to give him an extended contract out there because of his work ethic. I think is the big thing.
And here's the interesting part, Coach, is that the average payment for a defensive end is just over $17 million. Well, the reason why Clowney is making just under 16 is because rather than being tagged as a defensive end, they tagged him as a linebacker. Is that a common thing for tagging a defensive lineman to try and not have to pay as much money for your player?
Well, let's look at what he does. He plays 3 different positions. They can put him in 3 different positions. Occasionally, he's even inside over the guard or center with his hand down like a tackle, a defensive tackle. Most of the time, he's like a defensive end, or a lot of the time. But they call their rush ends by the nomenclature is some type of linebacker. Sometimes they put a fancy name on it. Teams will put a fancy name on it like rush linebacker or red backer or whatever. But so he's considered in their vernacular, he is considered a linebacker. Now, yes, a linebacker average pay, I guess, would obviously be less than a defensive lineman, a defensive end.
Now, and of course, ESPN is reporting that the NFL Players Association is expected to file a grievance on behalf of Clowney due to the application of him as a linebacker, which made him get less money than a defensive end, which is a little bit more. So we'll see how that plays out. But, Coach, SEC Media Days is going on currently in Hoover, Alabama. And in fact, the University of Florida spoke yesterday amongst other teams. Here was one interesting comment, though. Commissioner Greg Sankey of the SEC, he was asked about legal gambling. Legal gambling is expanding more and more and more. As a matter of fact, more money was bet in New Jersey than in Vegas, which is unheard of. But either way, Commissioner Greg Sankey is saying that the gambling can be negatively affecting players and their mental health. Coach, any comment on gambling in regards to college sports?
Yeah, I hate to see it expand in any way that it hasn't already. It's very prevalent. Everybody knows that. My gosh, the betting each weekend on both college and pro games is unbelievable. It's huge. But no, to make it even more pervasive and intrusive into the college game, I'm not for at all. And I think there's some interesting things going on there. Now, one thing they are going to be doing, and I want to get Bill Carr back on here one day to explain in spades why college athletics, there's so many problems in college athletics, and there are, and a lot of them have to do with the money problems. It's hard to believe. I think there are 123 Division I teams in the country, something like that. Of those 123, they could count on both hands the number of teams that are in the black. The rest of them are in the red. It's unbelievable. Cutting expenses. Auburn and there are two teams in the SEC that are cutting, been advised, I think it's Ole Miss, have been advised to cut their expenses. Auburn by 10% overall and Ole Miss by 8.5%. They've got to cut their overall expenses. Now everybody sees all the crowds and they say, oh, that can't be. But it is, and there are a number of reasons for it, and certainly the availability of television and apps that can put it on the phone and all the other. It's hurting attendance, number one, and number two, the tickets have gotten pretty expensive. So there's blame everywhere. They need to look at the total picture and what they can do to enhance the experience for the guy who wants to go to the stadium and see a football game, and that's number one. But anyway, there's some problems there that people aren't aware of, and we need to get ready to address them.
972-1945. That is the phone number again if you want to be a part of the conversation. And when we come back at the end of this break, we'll talk a little bit more about SEC Media Days, and players were interviewed, coaches gave press conferences. We'll talk about those and more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle. You can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
As a real-life caterer, my recipe for success is a heaping helping of commercial, auto, and business insurance through Progressive. They helped whip up a customized insurance solution that keeps my business cooking.
That barrage of bad wordplay was most unpleasant. Whereas commercial, auto, and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Its affiliated and third-party insurers.
This human resources professional is crushing it, thanks to Kronos. And this is his hype song.
I've got HR, payroll, talent, and time.
I'm on the top, I'm gonna rise up. Now we are
engaging all the best people.
Blast off to the front of the field. This is
Kronos, HR solutions for the modern workforce. Learn more at kronos.com/HR swagger.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. If you're tailgating before the game, don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game.
For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on this Tuesday afternoon. And as always, if you want to be a part of the conversation, that phone number is 972-1945. And also, you can watch us live on our Facebook page at ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Well, Coach K, we are going over the SEC Media Days, and Commissioner Greg Sankey addressing the negative effect that gambling in college sports can have on a college athlete. But, Coach, also per tradition, the head coaches will speak, but also a certain select of players will speak. And from Florida, you would expect the starting quarterback Felipe Franks to be a part of that conversation. He sure was. And recently, he was even drafted in the MLB draft late by the Boston Red Sox. As a matter of fact, is considering that as an option. Now, as a head coach, knowing that your player also has baseball in mind outside of football, how does that settle with you?
Well, I don't think this is any problem here with him playing college football and the Boston Red Sox. Eventually, I think it's would be more of a handle, a wedge for him to use at some point if he's drafted in the National Football League, as to whether he signs football or baseball. But I don't think it has anything to do with college in there. I don't think they're concerned with it, to be honest. Now, we're talking about the financial problems a little while ago, and I can tell you that is going to create a need for colleges to look for any place that they can raise revenue. So that's what's a little scary about what might raise its ugly head and provide more money for colleges, and they may be forced to take it just to stay afloat, or to programs that need to catch up with other programs, try to get the money to catch up with them. That would be one of the worries I would have.
Now, Coach, with Felipe Franks having sort of a rocky start to his season last year, but managing to bring it back together, still there are some question marks surrounding him. He's a big quarterback. He's 6'6", 235 pounds, and he looks like he could be a decent pro quarterback, but his skill levels just aren't quite there. If he has any kind of hope to move on to the professional level to play football, what are some of those things that need to be addressed for Franks?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, just based on what I've seen, I think his accuracy has to be improved. Most importantly, he's a big physical guy, and he can throw the football, and he can move around back there, even take off and get some big yardage with his legs. The thing that is going to be most important, I'm not sure you can learn on a football skills meter, and that's the intangibles. You know, I'm not sure that he is the type young man that would have the intangibles that you want as a quarterback. Leadership would be number one. His ability to survey the field, and when I say accuracy, that has a lot to do with it, to make all the right calls, the right checks, know the coverages, know where to go with the football. I think Mullen did a heck of a job with him, but I see his biggest problem being with the intangibles. And they mean so much. They mean more the quarterback position than do some of the measurables. Now, you have to have the measurables in order to be able to throw the ball, get it down the field to your receivers, your backs, and do all the things that you have to do. But the intangibles in many cases outweigh those measurables. If you don't have the mental capability, the leadership ability, all those things that are necessary to be a good quarterback, work ethic. Are you going to stay there and work like the Bradys and the Mannings? There's so many things that I would have to take a look at now. Again, I should preface by saying that Mullen did a good job with him, and he came on the last part of the season, last 4 games in particular, and played pretty well, played well. We'll see how he's going to do this year. That's going to be the key. So I'm going to reserve judgment on Felipe Franks until I see how he plays this year.
Coach, Georgia also had an opportunity to speak at the SEC Media Days yesterday, and Georgia's head football coach Kirby Smart introduced a new motto: "Do more." Now, in his first year as a head coach, he led them to the national title, where they were defeated by the team he came from, Alabama. And last year they fell just short of a Final Four appearance, and then they were defeated in the Sugar Bowl by Texas. I personally like the motto, "Do more." They want to do more, but also, Coach, this could sound like a silly question, but did Georgia by any chance put themselves in a really tough position because they made it to a national title game in his first year?
Well, yeah, and it's just like Mullen last year winning 10 games. Did they exceed expectation? Anytime you do, you run the high risk of people expecting more each and every year. Now, they went 10-2. Florida went 10-2 last year. There are going to be some people at Florida looking for a national championship this year. If we won 10 last year, why can't we win them all this year? You know, that type thing. Florida's not ready to win a national championship, I can almost assure you. But there are going to be people with those expectations. Now, did Kirby Smart, to answer your question directly, Georgia's in there. I mean, they're just a hangnail out of national championships in a couple of years. I mean, they've been there. They're on the cusp. So I would say they're living up to any expectation that you could have for a football team. My goodness, how could you have more other than that final drive in the ball game in the Alabama game, which loses the national championship. But anyway, long story short, I don't think I think Florida's a better example of exceeding expectation.
Coach, I do want to shift away from SEC Media Days, and that's going to be continuing on, and you can view that on the SEC Network. But the Oklahoma Sooners, Coach, during the offseason, Jalen Hurts from Alabama transferred on over to Oklahoma. Well, Lincoln Riley will not announce him as the starter. He says that he has to win the job first. It's wildly speculated, including by yours truly, that he is going to start. In fact, some people already have him in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Personally, I don't have him that far. But should Lincoln Riley go ahead and tell the media that Jalen Hurts is in fact the starter, or do you buy the argument that he has to win the job first? He isn't the starter yet. He has to win the job.
There's a reason that he's doing this, and it's probably a very good reason, to be honest with you. Now, I think the world of the kid. I really do. I think the way he handled himself at Alabama was most admirable, and that means a lot. But there's a reason that Lincoln Riley has not made that declaration yet. And you just keep in mind, now go back and look at a little history. Look at how Alabama turned the corner. They made a decision at halftime of a championship game and put the passer in the game. Jalen Hurts, great kid, but he's not a passing quarterback. He's one of those faux quarterbacks, okay? It would have been good back in the Tennessee single wing days. More of a running back, they put at the quarterback position. Throw well enough to get he's not a complete dud as a passer, but he's not an accomplished passer. They make the change. Look at Clemson, another great example. They had a faux quarterback back there in Kelly Bryant. He makes the change after the 4th or 5th game, and they go win the national championship. Put a kid in there that could throw the football. Brave moves by those two coaches. And I told Sweeney that when we had him, and we had him on an interview on our program. But very, very bold moves, but absolutely the reason that they won national championships, those two decisions. Now, the reason I brought that up is because here's Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. You don't think Lincoln Riley knows that Saban made that choice, made that change so that he could have a better all-around offense and a passing game? He knows exactly why he made that choice. And he's probably got somebody there that throws the ball better than Jalen Hurts. And he's going to wait to make a determination as to whether Jalen Hurts' ability to run with the football and throw the play-action passes and that type thing is going to be more valuable to him than a kid who can make him defend 53.5 yards wide and 60 yards deep. And my guess is, that's a long-winded answer to your question, but my guess is that's probably what he's facing. And that being the case, I don't blame him. I'd wait as long as I could, because you don't want to have a starter and then remove a starter if you don't have to.
And of course, let's remember that it was Jalen Hurts' sophomore year when he was pulled in that national title game. Him and Tua, they shared some time at quarterback last year, but Tua was the clear starting quarterback, even though it took Nick Saban quite a while to finally announce Tua as the starting quarterback. But in that year, he gave up redshirt eligibility, and so now he has 1 year left of eligibility, as he is going to be playing for the Oklahoma Sooners. He is considered a grad transfer because he did graduate from the University of Alabama. And also, I'm going to end it on this quote from Lincoln Riley. He says, quote, "We don't plan on the offense dipping." So we'll see what move he will go with. Personally, for me, I see them going Jalen Hurts route, but they do have a couple of talented backup quarterbacks, including a very talented true freshman that is coming in, although I would rather see him redshirt. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk more about SEC Media Days, and ESPN released rankings of the 2019 rosters for the NFL. If we have some time, we'll dip into that and more on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Tuesdays are the worst. They're all that stands between you and the downhill part of the week. But now they're a lot less worse, because Wing Tuesdays at B-Dubs are buy one, get one free traditional wings. So Monday, you may kick off the week. Wednesday, you may have a cool nickname. Thursday, you might be the almost weekend. But watch your back, because Tuesdays just officially became Wing Tuesdays. Buffalo Wild Wings. Roar! Buy one traditional wings order and get one of equal value free. Participation and promotional details vary by location. Check in with your favorite Buffalo Wild Wings to learn more about this offer.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
New Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline is engineered with 4 levels of defense against gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. It's sort of like having ninjas protect your engine. That helps keep your engine running like new. New Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. It's fuel for thought in engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 945. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Davis Allen with Coach K. Stevenson. And if you're just now joining us to get you caught up, Sawyer Smith, the former Tate High School quarterback, he was playing at Troy University. Well, he announces that he is transferring to the University of Kentucky, a big transfer. He's going to be competing for incoming junior quarterback Terry Wilson. They had a pretty solid team last year, but a solid quarterback going to the University of Kentucky. Looking forward to seeing how that goes on over in Lexington, as well as Grady Jarrett of the Atlanta Falcons. He does sign a 4-year extension worth $68 million with the Atlanta Falcons. Good afternoon. If you're just now, also, if you want to be a part of the show, 972-1945. We are discussing SEC Media Days. Currently, who went yesterday was Dan Mullen from the University of Florida, as well as Ed Orgeron of LSU. We'll touch on them in just a second. And then Barry Odom of the University of Missouri. And today, Kirby Smart, who I was just speaking with, he spoke a little earlier for the University of Georgia. We should also see Matt Luke of Ole Miss, Jeremy Pruitt of the University of Tennessee, and Jimbo Fisher of Texas A&M. Well, Coach, I do want to go back to LSU and Coach Ed Orgeron taking the stage, but Sports Illustrated had written an interesting article earlier, and they really were stressing about the importance of Joe Burrow, their starting quarterback, going into this season. A transfer from Ohio State. Coach, LSU comes off a Fiesta Bowl victory defeating Central Florida last season. This is a very important season for LSU, especially for a quarterback out of Joe Burrow. LSU hoping to continue their dominating ways like they used to have back in 2007.
Let me tell you something. LSU is going to have a good football team this year. No doubt in my mind about that. Talking with a number of people around who have watched all these teams, scouting players and whatever, everybody had something good to say about LSU this year. A couple of people really feel like they've got more talent than maybe anybody except Alabama. Joe Burrow, yes, is going to be the key. And if he plays to the degree that they feel he can, and we all feel that he's capable of playing, and that new wide open offense does become productive for them, they're going to be tough to beat because they're going to be in the top 3 defensively in the country. Turnovers, all of that they're going to have, plus the fact that you can make some mistakes and that defense can still go out there and stop them so they don't get points. So I see LSU being a very, very good football team. There's a couple of other things that were just kind of interesting before we get too far away from it. Ole Miss, Luke brings in 2 former head coaches to be the coordinators. And we better be careful. He brings in Rodriguez, who most people are familiar with, from West Virginia, from Michigan, Arizona.
Rich Rod.
They bring him in to be the offensive coordinator. And then he brings in Mike McIntyre, former head coach at San Jose State and Colorado, to be the defensive coordinator. Now, Luke's a young guy. He better be careful with those guys out there. And that's not saying anything bad about them. It's just that they can garner more respect from the kids than can the head coach. not very, very careful. And I mean, and sometimes you can't help it, be yourself. But if you're yourself, and it gains the respect that normally happens with that, especially if you do a good job, and the players know you're doing a good job, and you know what you're talking about. At any rate, it's just an interesting fact that he did. He certainly got some experience to lean on during some of the major head coaching decisions that may come up. So that was of interest.
Coach Jeremy Pruitt's about to enter his second season as the head coach at the University of Tennessee. There was a writer, I recall, last week who joined the Paul Feinbaum show who gave his rankings of list of head coaches based on performance last year alone, not just based on career, but based on performance last year. And he felt bad doing this, but he had to do it, he said, putting Jeremy Pruitt second to last on that list. It was his first year. I don't think I'm wrong when I say I believe that he will not be the second to last worst head coach going into this season. I see him improving greatly with his team. I see a growth out of the quarterback position. Tennessee is a team that's looking to continue to grow, and Jeremy Pruitt's looking to continue that with this team.
No question. I vehemently disagree with the writer because I think Pruitt did a good job, especially from midseason on. Tennessee was a tough out, a very tough out, and they won some ball games. I think it's I think it's a shame because he's a good coach. He did a good job, and you look at where Pruitt has been now. He was defensive coordinator at Florida State. They won when they won a national championship with Jimbo Fisher there. Then he goes to Georgia, and under their present regime, they really turned the corner, brought Georgia back to a commandingly good football team. Then he goes to Alabama. He leaves there and goes to Alabama. They won a national championship with him as a defensive coordinator at Alabama. Defensive coordinator all three places. And we're talking about toying with either winning or toying with the national championship everywhere he's been. Then he goes to Tennessee. And he's turning that program. Now, keep in mind, Tennessee has a tough time getting recruits where they are. They don't grow in that state. They've got to go out of state to get them. And it's tough to compete at this point against the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Floridas and so on in Florida. He's got to do it to get players there. And I just think he did a good job coming on last year, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year.
Another coach we're going to be hearing from today, Coach, you had mentioned Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher is going to be the last coach to speak today. Now, he had a pretty decent year in his first season as the head coach of Texas A&M. Now, we have gone over Texas A&M's schedule. Coach, this is one of the toughest schedules anyone's going to face. Not only are they taking on Alabama, but they are taking on Clemson as well. And then, of course, when you're in the West, you're going to be taking on the teams that are in the West. Coach, this is a difficult schedule that Jimbo Fisher is going to be taking on his second year. A really good recruiting class he managed to haul in. If I were to say Jimbo Fisher gets 8 wins, is that disappointing or is that right on par?
I think that's a good year for him if he gets 8 wins. Now, there's some people, hey, after last year, there's some people going to be looking for even more wins than they did. They may be a better football team and only get 7 wins. They've also got to play Georgia too. I mean,
you're right.
They have a tough schedule. For God's sakes, they got to open up with Clemson at Clemson. Now, the one advantage they have there is Jimbo's familiar with Clemson, but that's going to be a tough job, and they're going to get better and better and better into the future. I've talked about it many times. They've got an ideal situation, but what a tough schedule they've got. I think we went through the schedule and felt like they'd maybe win eight games out of there.
And yes, you're taking on these very difficult opponents. Having 8 wins and then continuing to have growth with the recruits that you bring in, hoping to see and looking to see to have more success with Jimbo Fisher moving forward. Now, looking forward to tomorrow, we'll talk more about these teams tomorrow. We are expecting to see Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and South Carolina. I do want to tease South Carolina real quick, Coach, because they're also another team that's going to have a tough schedule with Clemson in that mix. Will Muschamp has always been a character of a head coach. Just could this be a season for Will Muschamp where if it's not a good year, we probably see him leave?
That could happen. Certainly in the coaching profession, that could happen. Now, keep in mind, too, they've got a tough schedule because they're playing Alabama as well. I think sixth game of the year, fourth or fifth, sixth. They play Alabama. They do play them at home. They play Clemson. And then, of course, they play Georgia. They play Florida and that Eastern schedule. So it's a tough schedule. I think South Carolina may be a team that is laying in the weeds out there. They do have a good quarterback in Bentley, who's experienced. And
very experienced. He's been there, it seems like 6 years now, Coach.
He's been there. He's been there too before this, I know, at least. So he's going to be an X factor for him. Anytime you got a good quarterback, you got a chance to beat people. I'm not sure what they have in the way of skill positions otherwise in the passing game, but that he could sneak up on anybody and beat them.
And, Coach, one of the teams that spoke yesterday was Missouri. Just to touch on them, Kelly Bryant, who we had discussed a little earlier, he was a part of that. Trevor Lawrence, Kelly Bryant, whole quarterback switcheroo that Coach Dabo Swinney did with Clemson that eventually led them to win a national title, just like Alabama had done the year before, except not in the title game by any means. Kelly Bryant, he is now expected to be the starting quarterback at the University of Missouri. It's an interesting situation because Bryant wants to play. He wants, at least in his mind, the best opportunity possible to make it on to the next level. He's also going to be doing it, Coach, with a school that is not going to be going to a postseason because they did put a self-imposed ban on themselves. They are not going to be playing in a bowl game. But just to touch on Missouri, Kelly Bryant did speak on Monday at Media Days. So looking forward to seeing what all these teams have to do, and, of course, we'll talk more about it as we go throughout the week. In the meantime, we will take another timeout, and we'll talk a little bit of NFL right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Pros do it right by relying on trusted brands. Lowe's is here to help by stocking more of those brands, like DeWalt. Shop Pro Bonus Days and save $130 on a DeWalt 4-tool combo kit with 2 batteries and a charger for $269. And get a DeWalt 16-pack reciprocating saw blade set for $19.98. During Pro Bonus Days, get exclusive Pro savings with your Lowe's Business Credit account. And enjoy breakfast on us all week while supplies last. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 7/21. Credit terms apply. U.S. only.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the Puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 945. This is Talk Football with Coach K. Good afternoon. I'm Davis Sallin, sitting in for Jordan Glass, and with me, as always, Coach K. Stevenson. And first off, Coach, we would not be even doing a show today if it wasn't for our wonderful sponsors, and it goes down the list: Damien's Ice Cream, Bob Tyler Toyota, Hill Kelly Dodge, Jeep Ram, Levin Papantonio, Tom Thumb, and the Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Coach, we'd love to thank these sponsors for being a part of this show today.
Oh, absolutely. Great sponsors, and not just what they do for the show, but what they do for the community, all of them. It's amazing. Great contributors to our way of life here, and we couldn't be more happy about that and more proud of them. Also, just to mention, I get questions all the time about what is this team approach the Levin Law Firm has. Listen, nobody's more acquainted with the power of a team versus individual, approach toward a problem. Anything that you would need in the way of legal assistance, they have not one attorney they put on it, or one investigator, or whatever. They put a whole team. Whether they're interns, investigators, people that are familiar with that particular branch of law. And they'll go up against anybody. They'll go up against the government or any other law firm anywhere in the world. And it's all right here in Pensacola. But the team approach is something that is very unusual for a law firm, but I think most accommodating for success.
Coach, this is a question that I'm sure you have to answer or always get asked quite a bit, and the reason why I come up with this question is whenever I play, let's just say, a video game, passing is always the most popular thing to do. Passing, who could rack up the most yards. Washington State's probably never even heard of the running game, but Coach, the running game is still equally as important. How important is the running game as compared to the passing game at any level of football?
Well, it's extremely important. I'm going to try, without getting too far down in the weeds, I'm going to try to explain, and I'm sure most of you will understand that defenses strategize based on what you do best offensively and what they feel like you're going to do. They design defenses to take that particular part of your game away. If you're a very efficient passing football team, they want to try to get pressure on the passer. They want to try to get as many people involved in the defensive backfield as possible, so that they can protect. They can cover your receivers coming out of the backfield and the wide receivers as well. But if you can run the football, if you can do both, and here's what happens: an efficient running football team. What do you have to do? You cannot stop. You cannot allow the offensive line and linebacker, and tight end and backs to have all the one-on-one situations or two-on-one in many cases. So what you got to do is you got to get the extra person down in the box, which means you hear on television people talking about the 8-man box and the 7-man box. If you look back there in the secondary as a quarterback And I see two safeties back there, which you see a lot of the time people like to use against passing teams because it's tougher to throw in those windows when you can load that secondary and have two deep safeties back there. If you got two deep safeties back there, you can only have 7 near the line of scrimmage. Stands to reason the two corners and the two safeties, that's 4 people out of the box. Okay, so 7 means that you're evened up offensively for one-on-one blocking situations and you may have somebody at a disadvantage with a wham play or a trap or something like that. So that gives you an advantage to run the football. Now, if you are running the football successfully, what does the defense have to do? They've got to bring somebody out of that secondary up near the line of scrimmage, and they've got to position a backer in a better place other than dropping him 4 or 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. They got to position him in a better place to stop the run, and they got to bring somebody up. So if you got one high, if they go one high back there, you usually got 8 men near the line of scrimmage. Now, if you're a quarterback, what would you rather throw against? A 3-man, basically a 3-man secondary where you get a lot of man coverage right off the bat, or you get the 7-man front. You'd rather throw against the 8-man front because you pick it up and you throw the football. That's where you get the big plays. That's where you get more man coverage. So to be able to get those 8-man fronts and force teams defensively to stay out of those more pass-oriented type coverage defenses, you run the football successfully, you force them out of that. And that's just one of the many advantages, plus the fact that people can't rush. They can't put their ears back and just rush as hard if they're concerned about the run. They've got to read run blocks. They've got to read first back out of the backfield. They've got to read the center guard. There's so many tips they've got to look at before making the move that it hinders their ability to rush the passer. So there are just a lot of reasons why the run game is so beneficial to the passing game.
Now, you don't see this play ran too often in the NFL, but, Coach, during your time as a coach for the Buffalo Bills, was the option play ever ran during your scheme?
No. I've never run the option. Never will.
What makes the option so unsuccessful in the NFL, or at least so unpreferred?
Well, there are any number of reasons. One, because your quarterback can't survive. To be an efficient option football team, quarterback's got to keep the ball every now and then, right? That's all they're looking for is a quarterback to keep the ball and turn it up in there so 3 and 4, 5 people can get to him. They'll get him out of there pretty soon, and don't think they won't. They'll get to him. That's number one. Number two, the way defenses are derived in the National Football League and the quality of the athlete in that league is such that you're not going to get somebody on an island and outrun them or whatever. They're going to make the play. So it's not as effective as it is in high school or college.
And speaking of the quarterback position, Coach, this is some good news to share as quarterback Alex Smith, the still a quarterback on the roster of the Washington Redskins, but he suffered a gruesome knee injury last season. And after 8 months of wearing a knee brace, of course this is after he had surgery and has been on the road to recovery ever since, he is finally out of his knee brace. So good to hear for Alex Smith as he hopes to continue a career in the NFL, suffering a freak accident very similar to the one that Joe Theismann had suffered during the 1980s. So good news to hear for Smith.
Well, it is good news to hear, and we all wish him the very, very best.
Absolutely, Coach. And just a reminder, tomorrow we didn't get much time to get into our 32 teams that ESPN lists for the rosters, their top 32 rosters. We'll get an opportunity to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but just a reminder that SEC Media Days are going on, and if you do want to watch that, or at least keep updated with that, ESPNpensacola.com is your source. Also, you can watch the SEC Network if you do subscribe to that, and again, those coaches that are speaking today, Coach Kirby Smart from Georgia, he actually spoke a little bit earlier, Matt Luke of Ole Miss, trying to get Ole Miss back to their winning ways. They had been on probation for the last couple of years, actually been not playing in any bowl games due to their self-imposed sanctions, but they are off. I believe they are off the sanctions now. They are eligible for a bowl game. Yeah. And then Tennessee's Jeremy Pruitt. Jimbo Fisher is going to be speaking today, later on, and then tomorrow, for you Alabama fans out there, Nick Saban's going to be speaking, and then Chad Morris, I'm actually interested to hear what he has to say because Arkansas won 2 games last year. Then Joe Moorhead, this is a guy who has a pretty high ceiling with Mississippi State. And then Will Muschamp, another one who could possibly be riding the hot seat for South Carolina, hoping to have a good season. But again, it's going to be a very tough schedule. So those are the people that we have to look forward to tomorrow. Coach K. Stevenson, as we wrap up today's show, always it's a pleasure to be able to hang out with you, and I'll be actually hanging out with you the rest of the week.
Sounds great, Davis. There's so many things going on right now. And what we're trying to do as much as possible here in the off season is give people as good a look at rosters, schedules, other things that people look at to prepare or become more knowledgeable in the upcoming football season. So we're just trying to throw out as much as we can, and hopefully it helps you some.
Well, Coach K. Stevenson, we'll do it again tomorrow, same time, noon to 1. I'm Davis Allen, filling in for Jordan Glass. In the meantime, Stephen A. Smith Show is up next.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 945. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brillante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
From coast to coast, the Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
If you could have any coach in the NFL not named Bill Belichick, who would you pick? It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN